How you doing?
Me?
Yeah.
All right, I guess. I just hate this COVID.
There you go.
I've been trying to keep really busy.
Helps.
I started Italian lessons online. No, because when I retire, what I want to do is I want to find somebody to swap a house with in Italy
Oh, nice.
for like 3 or 4 months.
Ready?
Yeah.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno. I'm Sandra Scheller with the Chula Vista Heritage Museum and the South Bay Historical Society with Ruth Remember Us the Holocaust. We're inside the exhibit. More importantly, we are in the exhibit with Mayor Mary Salas. It's so good to see you.
It's always good to see you, Sandy, and I see a lot of you.
Yeah. It's been a really crazy time. This is a great way for our viewers to know a little bit about history. We know what you do when it comes to being the mayor, but I'd like to know where you were born, what was your ties to Chula Vista, and then we'll just take each question as we go along.
Okay, well, I'm about as Chula as you get because I was born in Chula Vista, and I grew up in a little neighborhood called Harborside in Chula Vista. It's a neighborhood, and I was born on the right side of the railroad tracks.
Okay.
Literally, our house was maybe about 200 feet from the railroad. And at the time that I was growing up in the 50s and 60s, what was directly across the street from us was a wide open field, and then to a little bit to the south of that was a packing plant. So when I was a little girl, we were surrounded by nothing but truck farms, and it was really a beautiful life. And the trucks would come in from the farms just full of either tomatoes, lettuce, cucumbers.
Venners?
Pardon
Was
me?
it the Venner farm?
It was farms from all over.
Okay.
This was a packing shed.
Okay.
And so what would happen is these trucks would come in with the produce. There'd be people working in the packing shed, and they would be cleaning and sorting the vegetables. And then the freight trains would pull up, and then the fruit in crates would then be loaded onto the freight trains and taken to all parts of the United States for people to eat.
Wow.
So
I just know that our train system was so important back then because of the fact that it would come sometimes from Mexico, go through the United States. We had a partnership with Tecate going up through the mountains, coming back through Tijuana, and coming along. And those are days that I miss. I do miss those days.
This was back in the days when we didn't have a trolley line there, and it was strictly used for heavy freight. And so our house being just so close to the train station, when the train would come roaring through, it would actually shake our windows, and you could hear the train.
Really?
Yeah, it was just amazing. So,
but you got used to it.
Oh, we got used to it. So when people complain about hearing the trolley honks, I go, well, okay, they should have had my childhood. This is so funny, Sandy. When I was in high school, my dad insisted that we only have one telephone in the house, and it was a wall phone, and he hung it in the kitchen so that we could never have a private conversation. Okay. Oh. And so the train would come roaring by, and I'd be on the phone with a girlfriend of mine, and she'd go, "What is that noise?" And I'd say, "What noise?" Because I was really embarrassed that people could actually hear
the train
when I was on the telephone. But it was really a great childhood. But getting back to where I was born in Chula Vista, it goes back even further than that because my grandparents moved to Chula Vista in 1919. So my family,
1919.
Yes.
Wow.
So my family's been in Chula Vista well over 100 years. So you can imagine the change that they saw, and then the change I saw in my generation, and then the change that my children experienced, and now my grandchildren. Chula Vista is just such a different place from the childhood home that I had.
Mm-hmm. And it's very interesting because the Dalai Lama always says be the change. You are the mayor. The thing is that I know you on a little bit of a different level because of the fact that you have an interest like I do at what grows in Chula Vista, as you've talked about, and the fact that we have picked bananas and smashed nuts and have done all kinds of really fun things. And, it comes back to where we came from.
True. And, it's just been a real pleasure really getting to know you. And I got to know you through your mother, of course. Ruthie. I knew Ruthie before I knew you.
Sure. On a whole different level.
Yes.
Because of her being an advocate and Holocaust awareness being just so in her blood.
Yes.
Both her and my father.
Right. So I first met Ruthie when I was a member of the California State Assembly. And each year in the Capitol, we would have a Holocaust Remembrance Day. And as part of that, we would fly up somebody from our district that was a Holocaust survivor to be honored for that day. So I was really privileged one year to find out about your mom, who lived in that assembly district. And so I invited her and took them up to Sacramento. And so your mom Ruth and your dad Kurt were honored that day.
Yeah,
and
60th anniversary.
Yeah.
And here we are doing the 75th anniversary. What's interesting, forever and a day, the business card of Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger sat on my dad's wall. Do not touch it. It stays right there. I mean, they remember that so strongly. And when I was writing the book, I remember I said to my mom, I really want to contact Mary Salas. I didn't know you as being Mayor Salas. It was Mary Salas. And I remember when I made the contact to you, and I just said, Mary, do you remember my mom? And all of a sudden you'd said to me, oh my gosh, I have to see her. Where is she? What is she? And from there, it's like it just grew. And to see you helping my mom and dad to an exhibit that features not just my parents, but that it features the other Holocaust survivors in the South Bay has been huge. I thought we would be lucky enough that people from Chula Vista and the South Bay would be able to experience the exhibit. I am a little blown away that we're halfway through this point, even with COVID hitting, and people around the world know of our exhibit. People that are from the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum know of our exhibit. Stephen Smith from the USC Shoah Foundation honored our exhibit as being the only exhibit in the South Bay. That doesn't happen with a me, it happens with a we. It happens with a team. It happens with a mayor who's going to say, this is important, and that we could even bring in other genocides, that we can bring in the Armenian genocide, other things that we can do to educate. The hardest thing that I have found is being closed because, and you witnessed it, the feeling of having children line up, getting off of a school bus, going through the exhibit. They're noisy and they're loud, and by the time that they come through here, they're in awe. They're just, this really did happen. I see people being nicer to one another after going through the exhibit. Is it something I would like to expand on? Of course I would. But I will tell you that my gratitude and what I owe the city, I'll owe for the rest of my life because of you and the team and people.
Well, Sandy, I look at it differently. I really look at it as a gift to the people of Chula Vista that we have this exhibit. And I really enjoy watching the interviews that you've done because what I've always found in my life is...
It's called diversity.
But, what I found in my life is if you probe enough, if you sit down and you talk with an individual and find out about their background, everybody has such a unique story to tell. And I'm enriched every time that I really have an in-depth conversation with people, and to be able to understand how they got to be the way that they are, and then how learning about others really enriches you. So my favorite kind of people are those people that work outside of themselves and their families to give back to their community. And those are the kind of people that I really enjoy being around, because we learn so much about each other. Before this exhibit, I really didn't think about the Jewish community in Chula Vista. You just didn't.
It was there.
Yes, but I didn't know it. I mean, I remember when I was growing up, my mother was a seamstress, and so that she would go to the yardage shops on 3rd Avenue. I think there were a total of 3 at one time on 3rd Avenue, because people used to sew.
Yardage City,
Yardage
Town, and Sid's Yardage on 3rd.
Yeah. So
and all 3 were in Holocaust camps.
Yes. It's just remarkable. And they were so quiet about their experiences, right?
White button-down shirt or a light blue button-down shirt is what the owners wore. They rolled up the sleeves to about here, just beyond where the tattoo was.
Well, actually, there was Susie, and I think she was Yardage City.
Yes, Susie Rimler.
Yeah,
Susie and Sam Rimler.
So I remember her because when I was a little kid, I saw the tattoo on her arm, and so then I asked my mom about it, and then she told me. But that whole history of that time was really important to me because, my dad was in World War II, and he was in the Army Air Corps.
Wow.
And so,
and your uncles too.
All my uncles.
All of them.
Yeah. So my dad had 6 brothers, so we're the 7 sons, and they all served in the military.
Wow.
4 of them served in World War II, and as a matter of fact, the oldest son, Joseph Casillas, there is a school named after him. He was Silver Star recipient, Purple Heart, several other decorations for the part that he played during the Battle of the Bulge and saving his platoon. I guess he was so young and scared, he just ran out of their bunker and took out a nest of Nazis. And so he got the Silver Star. However, later he was actually shot and captured by the Nazis, and so he actually was a prisoner of war, with the Nazis. And this was in the closing days of World War II, and so he was rescued from the Nazi prison, and then he was permanently disabled from his wounds. He suffered a headshot wound, and he went to school on the GI Bill, was the first family member in our family to graduate from UC Davis way back in the day. Wow. So I have a very proud history in the city. Of
course. And Mary, if we didn't have these shows, how are people going to know? This is one of those episodes where grab your knitting needles, grab your soda, grab your lunch, grab, students, all you students that are out there. This is huge for people to understand that even during this time of COVID, talk to your family. It's more than what did you do today. Ask somebody in the family how far back they can remember. It's a great project to do. And I know of your family. It's amazing. I also know what an incredible artist your mother is.
Right.
Just amazing. I mean, if I use that word one more time, I don't know what I'm going to do.
And my mother is, she'll be 97 in a couple of months.
97.
And she's doing great. But she was a terrific self-taught artist. She never took lessons. And I know you've seen some of her work.
Yes.
It's absolutely stunning. And she works in several different genres. So she's an amazing woman. But she also played a part in World War II.
She was Rosie, one of the Rosie the Riveters.
She was Rosie the spot welder.
The spot welder.
So
at Roar.
At Roar.
At Roar.
So she graduated from high school and immediately went to work in the Roar aircraft plant, and she was a spot welder. During the 75th anniversary of Roar, they had a big reunion, and of all these retired folks from Roar, my mother didn't retire from there because after the war she had to quit because the men came home, and so all the women were let go of their jobs at Roar.
Wow.
I know.
Wow.
Talk about. She's still resentful.
Wow. I can only imagine. I worked there. I wanted to retire from there. I wanted to get one of those watches that they gave when they retired.
But she's really funny because when she went back for that anniversary, of course, since she was the oldest one there and she was the only one representing that era of the World War II people, oh my gosh, they treated her like a queen. And one of the guys came up to her and they said, "Oh, you were a Rosie the Riveter?" And my mother looks at him and she says, "I was not Rosie the Riveter." She says, "I was a spot welder." She said, "It took a lot more skill, and I made a lot more money than the welders."
Yeah, probably
the
from 50 cents to 55 cents or something, you know, that back then probably made a difference. But she was
very proud of being a spot welder, and she worked on really tiny instruments. Mm-hmm. So, so she's amazing.
Well, I have a question to ask you. Here we are in the exhibit. Here we are in the, what would you like to see for future exhibits? What are things that you would like to see as our Chula Vista Heritage and our South Bay Historical? Because your mom was an artist. It would be great to be able to feature artists of Chula Vista, but I would love to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, well, I think that I really love how this new iteration of, the Historical Society has come together. It's the strongest group that I've known in all of their existence that actually is putting out programs and really diving in deep to our local history and the history of local families, because you learn so much more. And when you're interviewing those families and then you make those other connections to other families, it's a more complete history of the city and how we got to where we are. So it's been great.
Because we're two organizations, Chula Vista Heritage and South Bay Historical, I didn't feel qualified to do South Bay Historical. So Harry Orgavan has jumped on board as a host, and he's able to take on more of the South Bay Historical aspect, as I'm trying to do more of the Chula Vista Heritage Museum aspect. The good thing about that is Harry is from here, graduated from, he is Chula Vista. He's like Chula, like all of us. And what I really like is that when he does interviews, they go beyond what happens in this room. And it gives the fact that we have expanded. As horrible as COVID has been, the one thing I like is the fact that we have come up with the plan to get our interviews out, and that at any time anybody can see them. I will tell you that I don't operate with me, I operate with we. And because of our committee and having people like Harry jump on board, I couldn't do this without him. I couldn't do this with my son Max, as you know. And the big focus, both with Chula Vista Heritage and the South Bay Historical, is to keep it educational so that it can be used. Even though COVID is going to come to an end one day, I really hope that we can continue educating in this format. And that's been a challenge. On one hand, it's been a challenge, but on the other hand, it's been really fun. And the big question is, being the mayor, here we go. What would you like to see between now and 2022? What are things that are on the board? Mary, take it away.
Well, we've done so much, and we've started so many initiatives.
Absolutely, so many of them.
Since I became mayor, there's been a lot of change in the city. I think that the change has been more inclusive. I reestablished the Human Relations Commission, which is really important at this point in time, where we have so many discussions surrounding race and justice and equity. And so that commission has been great and really reaching out to other segments of our community that normally don't have a voice. So I'm glad about that. I would like to see a point where we get more civic engagement. And the COVID has really kind of squashed that, because I actually like people going to the city council meetings and expressing their views. it's so important for us as politicians and elected people to be really listening to the people and what are their concerns, right? What are their priorities, and make our decision based on, the priorities that will build and make us a healthier community.
Yes.
And I want to continue doing that. Part of that is access to quality education. So while we just got a new university study that says Chula Vista is not on the drawing board for a next university, we're not going to stop pursuing that goal of having a 4-year university in our own community, because certainly we have the demand for it and we have the need for it. There's not a 4-year university south of Interstate 8, and that is really a matter of a lack of center in mind that takes into account this kind of reaction to a virus that how could anyone have anticipated how it would have just put our economy to a screeching halt.
Yeah.
So I share their optimism and believing that I
think the whole city does. Yeah. Our city is totally behind what they're doing.
Yeah. So I share their optimism that we will recover and we will become stronger for it. It's going to take a long time, though. But the Rita Development Corporation and Ira Mitzner, whose father was a Holocaust
survivor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is
unreal.
Still really, really committed to this project. If all goes as planned, we should be doing a ribbon cutting in 2024 of a new convention center.
2024. Wow. Now, if my co-host was here right now, Harry, he'd be saying now, are the turtles going to be okay? Are the fish going to be okay? Are the animals going to be okay? Can we still kayak? Yes. Yeah. Am I right? And
yes.
And hear it from the mayor, Harry.
Yeah, so when we were considering that, of course, we had a lot of community input and stakeholders. And so there was actually agreements between the environmental community. Actually, the enhancement to be able to enjoy the natural resources of the bay will be enhanced. So
that's awesome.
So, and actually, it'll be better. We're going to have a beach. As part of that, not with waves.
Right, but anybody can go to the beach.
Yes. So actually, within the plan, there's a beach that will be drawn in, and so
will water be tested for environmental reasons so that it's clean, or are they going to be doing things?
I don't know about
that,
but the bay water is so clean now. I can remember a time. In the 70s and 80s even, where there was a lot of contamination in the bay. But because of environmental efforts and the stewardship of a lot of people, the bay has been cleaned up. So it's a lot cleaner now.
You want to hear something interesting? When I was doing the episode last week with Stewie Sheffield, they showed me a picture of his mother. This is Johnny Sheffield's wife, Patricia. She was water skiing. When was the last time you've seen somebody water ski?
Probably the last time.
It's been overtaken by jet skiing. And when you realize that somebody is standing there on 1 foot water skiing, when was the last time you saw somebody water ski? I haven't seen it in a long time.
Well, the last time I water skied was probably about 1966.
Okay.
Because my uncle had a boat. And we would go out to we take off from Glorieta Bay. And so I was just a novice, but I did get up on the skis a couple of times, and it was so much fun.
It would be really neat to see a lot of people using the activities of the bay. Water skiing, if it's not water skiing, let it be their paddle boards, kayaks, things along, because they're so pretty. Yeah. They're so colorful. Tall ships. I think it's really great that we have tall ships.
Yeah, I think that people are starting to discover the bay as a recreational asset. When the bayfront is fully developed, there'll actually be more venues for that, and I believe that will become a popular kayaking place as well. But I've been out with Harry a couple of times.
Same here. Yeah. It's something that everybody should do.
It's really awesome.
We should do it.
Yeah,
we'll do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah, for sure. It is a real pleasure. I want to ask you your final thought, your final statement, something you'd like to say to our viewers, our students that are learning. Mary, take it away.
Yeah, well, I guess for the students, I would say that a lot of people view politics in a very negative way. But I think if you look locally, you see that policies affect every asset of your life, right? So, for example,
sure do.
The decision to create the historical museum here in this space.
It was politics.
Yeah, I mean, it was a decision that was made by the city council.
A group
to
of
do
people,
that.
a committee,
Exactly.
city council, yes.
You know, the funding of the library, the funding of those kinds of things, those are all decisions that we make on a political level. So you want to make sure that whoever you put your trust in is that they're looking out for the priorities of and the safety of the community, right?
Absolutely.
And even in the whole climate change discussion, we know that the best way to affect change is to put in policies in place where people will then become individuals, will become stewards of the environment. So things like cities initiating recycling programs, composting programs.
You know, we have a compost episode. Harry. So Harry is the one who did our compost episode with Tina Mathias. And so that's one of our episodes that we have.
But all those things start at the local level. If you have something mandated from the federal level and the federal level tells you, now you all are going to have to recycle, but if that local government doesn't provide the ability for you to do that, the recycling bins, the centers, all of that, then that's not going to help. The way that we plan and develop our neighborhoods, are they walkable, where people won't have to get in their car and go someplace? And so all the new development on the east side, we've done it with a village concept where you have a urban dense core, and then you have different kinds of housing within that village, and then you have walking and biking trails and all those opportunities for people to get to the center of town through either bikes or walking or something like that. And here, living on downtown, I live downtown and I love it because I don't have to get in my car to do anything.
You just walk.
I have
You're
a
constantly
local grocery store. I've got my bank, my dentist, my doctor, my hairdresser.
Sure.
All within
library.
The library, City Hall, all within walking distance. And it keeps me healthy.
And wonderful restaurants.
Yes.
Wonderful restaurants that need to be supported.
Yes.
They need to be supported.
And during this time of COVID, I have to congratulate the business owners on Third. They've really done an amazing job of adapting to the COVID and all the restrictions it's put on businesses. But we have to have those restrictions to keep our people safe.
Yeah. Mark and I make it a point to go at least once a week to support the different venues, because if we don't do that, we're going to lose it. And it's so important to visit it and, participate. That's what a community does.
Yes.
That's what a city does.
And 99% of our businesses in Chula Vista are 10 or less employees. There's
10 or less employees.
There's small businesses.
Wow.
And a lot of our businesses are entrepreneurs that actually lived in Chula Vista or grew up in Chula Vista. So it's really great. So it's local people building their own businesses, and we need to be able to support them so they can thrive through this challenging time.
Sure. I think the most important thing to remember, we're in this together, and we're doing it as one, and we just take
maybe one day we'll get rid of this glass.
Yeah, wouldn't that be nice? Did you know there's a glass here? Yeah, for sure. Mary, thank you so much for coming on our show. You're a delight. I hope that we can have you return when there's updates of this shield coming down. In the meantime, thanks for watching.
Stay healthy and stay safe.
Proud Mary,
the way we do.
keep on burning.
Proud Mary. And we're rolling.